Hey everybody, it's Jonathan Van Ness, and welcome back to Getting Better. What is manifestation? How does it work? Is it really a thing that can make us change our lives and change the way that we interact with each other? We have the best person ever, like no offense to anyone else who's into manifesting, but we have like a really gorgeous guest to talk about this today. The one and only Gabrielle Bernstein. You probably know her from The Universe Has Your Back. I'm obsessed with that title. Super Attractor, or her latest book, Self-Help, This Is Your Chance to Change Your Life. Which we definitely have to talk about because we were talking about it a little bit before, you guys, but this one's a really incredible, they all are incredible, but you gotta get this one. Also, this stunning headshot. Queen. I love this blunt.
Actually, we need to talk about the hair color too. I need your guidance.
You were a little lighter then.
I know, I need your guidance.
Okay,
you're
but
gonna,
I mean,
you're going to tell me what's
I gotta
up.
say, I'm not upset at any of it. I think you look so gorgeous in all of these variations. So,
Thank you.
But Gabrielle, welcome.
Okay, so I manifested this. I manifested you.
Tell me more.
So well, first of all, I'm obsessed with you. I love you. Your energy is electric. It's magnetic. It's a superpower. And I want to just thank you for your presence in the world. So let's start there. And I, many months ago, messaged you on Instagram because I used JVN. And I was like obsessed with the product. As you can tell, I'm like a 45-year-old woman with like
so
real
gorgeous.
mane. Like I've got good hair,
Honey,
right?
you got really
and
good hair.
I work it. Like I work this hair. And so JVN is in my hair repertoire. Okay, so that's big news. But then I did this thing with my team recently where we kind of made a little bit of a U-turn and we're like, okay, I want to be teaching more on other people's shows. I have my own podcast, but I want to be teaching more on other people's shows. And we made this list of sort of like our top 5 to 8 shows that we want to be on, because it's more about who do I feel aligned with, what feels like the right step forward, and what's the audience I want to be talking, like who's a resonant audience. Okay, honey, you're on that list, baby. And then like a week later, my producer / chief of staff gets this message. She goes, like, you're not going to believe this, but Jonathan's going to have us on the show. And I was like, the universe works
really
fast.
is crazy that we were on the list and then we hit you up.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, we didn't even have to try. There's no trying. When you're in alignment, you know what you want. Because let's actually unpack that, right? I feel your vibration. I love your energy. I have appreciation for who you are. It's not a thirsty energy, right? It's not like, oh my God, I need that. Because that thirstiness gets in the way of the attracting. And so there's a thirst. It was just like, this is our dream. Let's lay it on the table. We put it in writing and then we let it go. We're going to unpack all this throughout this episode, but we had this vision. It felt really high vibe. We let it go. The universe delivers.
For the people who I can already hear in the comments that are like, manifestation, like, what do you say to them? How do you explain to a manifestation denier that it exists and it's real?
I think you'd be surprised. I don't think you have a lot of manifestation deniers in your world.
I don't think I do in my world.
I don't think the people watching are manifesting deniers, especially they wouldn't be if they clicked play.
But they
on
might
this.
have a person in their life who is.
Or they might have a part of themselves that wants to believe but doesn't believe it's for them, right? Everybody else can manifest, but I can't, right? Or is this really real? Let me put it to you this way. This is what's real. This is who we are. Manifesting is natural. Attracting your desires is natural. Living in joy is natural. Feeling empowered is natural. Thinking it and believing it is natural. Attracting what you want into your life is who you are. We attract who we are. What's not natural is all of the fear-based beliefs that we have chosen to believe in, all of the fear-based beliefs that have been bombarding us through the news, through our life, through traumatic events and our experiences. That's not what's natural. And so much of what we're here to do in this lifetime is undo those fear-based beliefs and return to that magnitude and that love and that light and that joy and that super attractor energy of who we really are.
You know how like, have you ever seen that video on TikTok where it's like, you have to be careful, like what, and it's probably more than just this video, but you have to be careful of like what you say because the universe always says yes.
The universe is always a yes for what you're putting out, but it's not just what you're saying, it's how you're feeling. Because if you're in a high vibration, but you say something kind of flippant, like, oh, I'm such an idiot, or you'll be okay. But it's when you're in the repeated story and the thoughts just keep thinking and the thoughts just keep thinking, those thoughts become beliefs, those beliefs become feelings, those feelings send out an energy, that energy is what you attract. So it all works together. If you just think a thought one time, you're good. But if it's just a repeated thought that's burdening you, that's making you just literally wake up every day believing, I'm not worthy of this, or who am I to have that, or I can't attract love, or I'm not good enough, or money isn't easy for me, whatever it is.
What if it's like, I can't believe this person did that to me? Because this is really kind of like sidebar, but I'm interested in this. So I was at dinner with friends.
Yeah.
And I met this new person, and this new person was like confiding in me that like someone in their life who they had trusted for a long time, like really betrayed the shit out of them. And I listened to them tell their story to me for like a good 10, 15 minutes. And it so reminded me of like where I was last year and just stuck in this loop of like trying to figure out and trying to figure out like why this happened, why they would do this, all this stuff. But it put me in like a really negative, bad space because I was just like rolling around in this like mud. Like just this like.
It triggered your experience?
And it made me tell her this story that I always think about from rehab, where I saw this speaker who said this line that was like, not knowing why I was an alcoholic is not what made me crazy. Needing to know why I was an alcoholic is what made me crazy.
Oh, wow. That I just got full body chills because I've been sober for almost 20 years, coming up on 20.
Oh, congratulations, Queen.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
But you just said actually really true. Well, let's finish what you're saying.
So I
that
said
really
that to
hit
her,
me hard.
But I said that to her. I was like, girl, I don't think it matters like figuring out the other person who said it. Like, because who cares? Like, it doesn't. What you're feeling and what you've experienced, like it doesn't matter who said it or who didn't. It just because she didn't trust anybody anymore,
right?
And that's what kind of I just saw myself in my story and her a little bit, and like it made me so insecure. It made me feel like I didn't know who to trust. It made me really unsure of even trusting myself, and just like second guessing myself all the time. And so if the thing is, and I just know for me in my whole life, I've never been thrown for like, I've dealt with like traumatic death, I've dealt with trauma, but deep betrayal, and uncertainty, like I've never dealt with that. And I've never dealt with like what it made me think of myself. So it just top of mind for me. So if the thing was that someone can't get out of like, oh my God, why did this happen to me? How do you manifest yourself out of that?
Well, you don't manifest yourself out of that. You tend to the beliefs inside. So we're going to bounce a little bit in this conversation from IFS to manifesting. So you and I are both students of Dr. Richard Schwartz, who is our dear friend, and internal family systems therapy is what my latest book, my 10th book, is all about IFS. And this book is really about how we heal the parts of ourselves.
Really quick, I'm so sorry. Okay, so basically, if you've been a longtime listener to Getting Better or Getting Curious, you will know, because we've had Dick Schwartz on this podcast. You've probably heard me talk about parts if you're a frequent listener. If this is your first time on the podcast, or you haven't heard about it, or you haven't, if this is your first time hearing about it, will you just tell me, Gabrielle, what is IFS? Which internal family systems? It also can be interchanged with like parts therapy, right?
Yeah, so it's called parts work. It's called IFS, internal family systems. In this case, my book is actually a 4-step self-help practice that's based on the principles of IFS. So with Dick's permission, with my level 2 training in IFS, I used my skill, which is to democratize, demystify, simplify.
Yes.
So that's what we'll do today. So we all have these parts of ourselves inside. They're like little children inside of us. So if you've ever said like a part of me gets outraged when my mom says XYZ, or a part of me shuts down, or a part of me feels inadequate. These are kind of like different personalities inside of us. And they're aspects of ourselves that are protection mechanisms. And so the person that you're referring to that had this betrayal, that can't let go of the betrayal, it's likely that part of them that cannot let go of the betrayal is what we'd call a protector part. It's a protection mechanism. Why? Because if I let go of the betrayal, then I'm going to die, or I'll be unsafe, or these core beliefs. And it's likely that this person had very big betrayal as a child. I would go on the record. I would put money on it that person who's experiencing this betrayal in such a deep, wounded way right now, with such an inability to forgive right now, that woman or that person would very likely have a historical experience of betrayal. And so what happens as this relates to IFS and manifesting and all of it is that we have these experiences as children, trauma with a big T, trauma with a small t. For me, it was big T. My guess is for you might have some big T trauma.
Big T trauma. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes small T could be like being bullied or feeling like you weren't learning at the right pace or whatever it was. These moments in time, we were little kids. We did not have the tools, the resources, or the adult figures to help us process. So what did? We started protecting ourselves at a very young age. And those protection mechanisms have been replayed and repurposed and replayed and repurposed, and they've become core beliefs. And remember, we manifest what we believe. So if that core belief is so strong, let's just use your friend as an example. This friend likely, I hope they're listening, has an experience of betrayal as a child that replayed and repurposed and replayed and repurposed, attracted again into her life. And here she is, holding this betrayal and replaying probably a very young part of herself. So the part that's like, I can't let it go is the protection mechanism. Okay. So the work here, and this self-help book, while it's about a therapy and it's democratizing a therapy, is actually my biggest manifesting book of all. Because you know this, all the IFS work you've done.
I mean, I have to ask you, because I want people to like understand how cool this is. So like internal family systems, it like changed my life.
Me too.
It literally helped me get off, like, I mean, I still smoke weed, I want to be honest, but it got me off of like bad fucking drugs, like the ones that were going to kill me. It got me onto harm reduction. It got me onto so much recovery, so much healing. Like it just really changed my life. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're saying that you're democratizing IFS, it's like my therapist who does IFS, honey, like she's amazing. And and thank God I can afford her. Like, thank God, like the universe.
That's right.
But it's like, but that's expensive. I mean, my therapy is like $600-800 a month. And that shit's expensive. It adds up. Not everyone has like $600 or $800 a month to get access to this information. So when you say you're democratizing IFS, really you're taking all of your training and all of your work that people who have gone to school for like 4 years, 8 years to learn how to give to people, well, not give to people, but it's a price, you know, it's like this thing. You're letting people get into this for themselves because not everyone does have that time or that money or that ability or the resource to do that. So thank you for doing that work. And you're saving people's lives and helping people so just when we say we're democratizing this work, that's what's happening.
Means. And that is, I love you so much for saying that because IFS changed my life. I've been in IFS therapy for almost a decade. It meant so much to me that I befriended Dick. I went on with his guidance and his direction, went on to get trained in the model. I was actually one of the last people who's not a therapist, a licensed therapist, to get the training. It was almost like God put this all in place for me. I got trained. With that training, I knew I was well equipped to write this book because I write self-help books. I write spiritual self-help books. So here I was able to turn this model into something people could use on their own.
Yes.
So it's for the people who will maybe never get into a therapist's office, can't afford a therapist. There aren't enough IFS therapists yet. Dick is doing everything in his power to get more out there. And so this is for people to do it on themselves. And for folks like yourself who have an IFS therapist to do it on yourself when you're not it's like the in-between the therapy.
Yes.
That's how I use it.
Just so to set the scene. There is something in your life that's holding you back.
Anybody, yes, exactly.
It could be grief. It could be a betrayal. It could be someone screwed you over. It could be that person got the promotion that you wanted. It could
just be a belief, or could even be a feeling, right? Like, oh, I'm waking up anxious all day. And that's a part. That's a part of us, right?
Yes.
The anxious part of who you are. So let's imagine there's a belief, a thought, like a repeated thought, a behavior even like drinking every day or numbing out with YouTube, something that's really blocking you in your life right now. There's 4 steps you can apply. And if you apply these 4 steps, you can help heal self, your higher self, your resourced, adult, undamaged self, which we all have inside. It's like an energy inside of us. It's like an inner healer.
Yes.
An internal teacher.
Yes.
Can help us, can help these parts of ourselves that feel burdened.
Yes.
And so this is what this 4 steps is. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. You notice right now, everybody listening, do this on yourself. And let's do it with you right now. You don't have to speak it out loud unless you want to. But is there something right now that's like a bit of a block for you in this moment, or a belief or a pattern that's holding you back?
Yes.
Okay. You know what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to do it with me live, or do you want to let them do it on their own?
I really have one, but I don't want to do it in front of
everybody. Let's not do the big one. No.
But I'll do a nice, more gentle one.
Okay.
Which is shopping.
Okay. Okay. So just sort of mindless shopping?
Yeah.
Okay.
Big shops, little shops.
Big shops, little shops. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then anybody else out there, if it's a thinging, right? There's some thing you're doing, or it's a belief or a pattern. And so the first step
drinking,
is
fucking,
shopping,
yes.
eating,
yes,
or anxiety,
and something
or
you regret, just like something
judging.
you fucking regret. Oh yeah, judging is a good one.
Or a core belief. I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate. Whatever that big thing that's holding you back, the feeling.
I'm a bad person.
These are all parts of ourselves.
Yes.
They're all protection mechanisms. So instead of checking out with them, right, we're going to check in with them. And what happens is when you're shopping, it's a way of checking out. So the next time that you notice, I got to go get online and start shopping, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to go up to the row and get that next Margot. Maybe we can still do that. Okay. But whatever that might be, you can choose to check in instead of check out. Okay, you're going to hear my voice. Gabby said, choose to check in. Let's do this. So that's the first step, is just choose to check in. It's just like being sober, right? It's like choose to not drink, choose to go to the meeting, choose to call your sponsor. It's one day at a time, choose.
Yes.
Choose to check in instead of choosing to check out. That's the first step. We just did it just now because you said yes. Listeners, choose to check in with us now. Viewers, choose to check in with us now. Second step, we would become curious about that part of ourselves. Okay, so focusing your attention inward, we're going to do this kind of in a minute or so it's not like a long-winded thing. But where do you feel that in your body, Jonathan, when you are wanting to shop? Where does it show up in your body?
The front part of my stomach.
Okay, and are there any other sensations that you would describe? Pulling you. Yeah, okay, pulling. And
feels like
beautiful. Okay.
Seriously, it does. But I'm just like, but instead of like open heart, I'm just like,
yes. Okay. So it's a pulling. Any thoughts or feelings connected to it?
I'm usually lying to myself. Like, I'm not going to buy anything. I won't tell anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just looking, usually something like that.
Okay. And then is there anything else that it wants us to know about that part of you? How old is it?
I think I'm sitting on a plane reading magazines deep in economy, like going to visit my grandparents somewhere when I was like 14.
Yeah. Okay.
Reading magazines, coveting shit that I like thought I would never be able to afford.
Yeah.
And still can't afford at this rate because I can't stop buying shit.
Okay. So it's a young part.
I can stop though. I just choose not to.
Well, it's a part that needs, and anything else that it wants us to know, any other feelings or sensations attached to it?
No.
Okay.
Pulling.
Yeah. Okay. And there's any last thoughts or images? But you got a good image of the kid on the plane. Yeah. Okay. And now the third step is to compassionately connect to the part. And this is where you would just ask that part of you, what do you need? Can you ask it what it needs?
It usually just feels like overwhelmed with something and like doesn't want to have to sit with that.
So what does it need in that moment?
Well, right now it's like the bag. It needs the bag.
Okay.
But I know at the end it never feels better because then I end up overwhelmed with like, once that overwhelm comes back about the work, it's usually always about work. Yeah.
Can we give it a little bit of breath right now? So like just put your hand on your heart or on the belly where you feel it and just breathe into it for a moment and just take a deep breath in. And just let it know that you're here. Does it know that you're here? Does it know that I'm here with it? Nice. And just give it one more breath, just like one last breath. And just let it know that we're hanging out. Okay. How does it feel now?
Feels self-conscious.
Okay. It's a strong part.
Yeah.
Does it feel connected to you right now? A little bit more?
No, because I want this to be over.
You're done with it. Okay, great. So self-conscious. Okay. Does it feel connected to me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Does it feel like a little bit calm with me or a little nervous?
It feels calm with you. I just am like,
too hard to go there now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Honest. Okay. Great. And does it feel connected like to me in the sense that does it recognize that I recognize it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So remember, self is these energies of, first of all, beautiful. Thank you. Tell the part I say thank you for.
Thank you. I freaked out.
That's actually what would happen. And it's more common than not that you would freak out. So the part
that's my distractor part that does that every time.
That's another part. Yes. That's another part that's like, this is too much. Let's check out.
And it like pushes everyone away.
But the beautiful thing is that you had clarity, right? Do you feel like you have a little bit more clarity? That's that's it. Okay. Then we got self. Okay. That's all we need. So that last step that we just did was to check for the C qualities of self.
Which is clarity, compassion.
Compassion, courage, creativity. Connection, confidence, and courage. Did I say
always
courage?
forget creativity, confidence, and
courage. I always forget. I always forget courage.
But I always have like clarity, calm. I always remember
calm,
those two.
Clarity. But
I love
because
the
that
C
was
words.
easy. Love the C words. Better than the C word this morning.
Yes. Whoops.
So, whatever. We can use it when we need it. But the reality is that clarity was enough. So, okay, we just spent 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes with that part that wants to shop. And we checked in instead of checked out. And you had in that 2 minutes a little tinge of clarity. That means that self energy, which is all these qualities of these C qualities, it's a calm energy, it's a compassionate energy, clarity came through.
I do think sometimes, because like I come from a 12-step background as well. Like my stepdad had been sober for like 27 years when he passed away. And I've also done a lot of parts work. And sometimes like, because even like there's like my little shopper, like she's got a little sneakiness to her. And I have been like intriguing with impulse shopping this week. And so I feel like once I called her out and was like, oh, we're going to talk about this right now.
Yes.
That's why I was like,
yeah. Like, she's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, because it was like in the middle of like,
Yeah, I need my drug of choice right now. Yeah. Because she's protecting something deeper, which is what we know. So the shop.
Which is really just fear of the unknown.
Yeah, she's scared.
We did an episode with Rachel Botsman a few weeks ago about trust. And it really made me realize like my relationship with trust, not like last year, it got really fractured with myself.
Yeah.
Like not only because of like shit that I went through in public, but like private stuff. Like, like I bought a house that was like too much house and became really overwhelming and like just created all this extra stress in my life. But before I bought the house, I was like, I must have that house. That house is like the key and it'll be totally great and it's going to like solve all the things. And then that wasn't the case, and I actually like brought up all this like other stress. So that was actually kind of the first thing that like made me feel like, oh, like I was dead set on something and then it really didn't work out. And that was that was something. And then like it just kind of created this like domino effect. Then there was like a really sudden death in my life that then all of a sudden like just my trust, like I realized like how insecure a lot of my parts were feeling with the world. And so I think that's something I think is not only applying to me. I think so many of us are having issues.
So many. But here's a secret. Ready? This is a reframe. This is just open your heart to a perceptual shift. This could be a quantum shift in your life right now that I'm about to give you. Okay. Is that the trust that you're seeking is self-trust and not self like, oh, I'm self-reliant. It's the energy, that energy of self, which is the God within us. It's the universal energy. It's the love energy. It's the presence of safety inside. It's the compassion. It's the calm. It's the courage. It's the clarity. Now, hear me out. When you practice IFS, when you do these 4 steps, when you do any kind of personal development work, you're turning in instead of checking out. And the more you do that, the more you develop an inner resilience and a sense of knowing that when the shit hits the fan, when I buy the wrong house or the house that's too big, or when I go and spiral out with the shopping, I know where to go. I can go to self. Self can help me. It makes me really almost emotional to say that, because that knowing is something I can say. And for somebody listening, it might just be words right now, but I can in my body stand behind it. That self energy helps me stay clean and sober for 20 years, help me overcome childhood abuse, help me move through hormonal upheavals with menopause and postpartum and life-threatening postpartum, right? These are the moments in time without that inner resilience, I wouldn't have survived. And so the more we develop that, which was exactly what you're doing, my love, every day that you go to that therapist or you do this show or you read that book, that self-help book, or you call a friend that's in a recovery group, whatever it is that you do on a day-to-day basis, you're developing that self energy inside. And the more you develop that, the more you can trust that. And the more you trust that, the more you know I can go inside instead of check out. That's it. So we won't ever know that we have everything together because we can't control our lives.
Yeah.
But what we can control is how we feel inside.
Part of parts work that I love is that it's really taking your your ego or your life story, and it's helping you see your life in a new way. Like you can literally like map out your parts. Because of the work that I've done, I can really clearly see like why certain things operate in a way that they do based off of my childhood trauma.
Of course.
Based off of what I went through as a kid. So when it comes to when it comes to internal family systems therapy, how do childhood experiences and past wounds shape the way that we create or block the life that we want? And how can we manifest through these like deeply held limiting beliefs?
Okay, gorgeous. So we have these exiled experiences, the trauma with a big T or small t as a kid, and it's so extreme, and then we protect against it forever. And these protection mechanisms are oftentimes the parts of ourselves that we like the least, right? So the shopper or the addict or either the judgmental part, or for me, like the part that's like, I have to do everything. And we don't actually manifest our way through it. We befriend it. The secret the secret to manifesting is to befriend the beliefs that block the manifesting. So when we get to know, become curious, get the clarity that you're talking about. Because you can say right now, all that clarity is the word you've used multiple times in this episode. So that clarity that you have about the shopper, it actually allows you to see the shopper as a part of you rather than as who you are. And that teasing that out allows you to be like, okay, the shopper's here right now. Like she needs something. Like she's acting out. Like, okay. Like I've got a clarity about that. That clarity might lead you to feel a little bit of connection to her. And then that connection might open your heart to some compassion towards her. And as you start to develop that kind of relationship, get into relationship with these parts of ourselves instead of shunning them and fighting them or pushing them away or trying to get over them or manifest through them. We befriend them. Like my cocaine addict part, I love her. She's also a controlling part. That controller, listen, she did a lot of good work. She wrote 10 books in 14 years. She's helped a lot of people. Now with my relationship to her, she's not as extreme. She can run her business. She can make shit happen. She can get things done, but she doesn't have to be an asshole while she's doing it, right? So it's not about overriding these aspects of ourselves. The parts of us that we hate the most, the parts of us that make us so ashamed, those are the parts that need our love the most. They need our friendship. They need our connection. And that's why, choosing to check in, being curious, these are the steps, compassionate connection, asking, what do you need? Breathing with the part, noticing the self energy. It's just 4 steps. 1 minute a day, 4 steps, my prescription. 1 minute a day, 4 steps. And that's why the subtitle is, this is your chance to change your life.
I also think we just live in this culture where people want like a fast answer, a fast, easy answer to everything.
Yes.
And I know for me, like I learned in our trauma dumping episode a few months ago now, that like my first instinct when I go through something is to call someone. Like I don't ask myself. That's
okay though. Do you want to know why?
Well, I'm a wave and I get that I'm a wave, but part of that is from like, I don't trust myself to like sit with something. And so, and also it's more about me regulating than it is about them.
Yeah.
It's more. And so there's like there's like a little selfishness to it.
I don't hate that for you though. I want to tell you why. I like adding in the self-help check-ins. But what I like about that is that you know that that's a tool that supports you. You know that co-regulation is helpful for you. You know that there are safe people in your life and you feel safe to contact them and ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that.
We've been talking so much about parts that I kind of want to make sure that people understand. Like there's a little bit of like parts lingo that I want to make sure that you guys know. So all of us have parts. There are parts like in everybody's like personality system. So it's not like multiple personality disorder. It's not like everyone has parts. It's in true like multiple personality. What's that like term?
DID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
did I say that right? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's like if you have like full on split personalities, that's like when the personalities don't know about each other. Like where like you, like because of trauma, like you fully switch into one. Like that's not internal family systems. That's not what parts work is. Everyone has parts. It's just that some people's parts usually always correlated to their trauma are like more extreme than others. So like I got some extreme ass parts. Other people, your parts might be more subtle and like harder to detect. Do you like the way I explained that?
I really like what you're saying. And I also would say that if anytime you said like, like, whoa, like a part of me just took over. Right? That's when we become blended with parts of ourselves.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, I could not handle that feeling. I just picked up the drink and I was off to the races. Right? Or that, that person said that thing and I just lost my shit. Right?
Yeah.
I just couldn't. And then an hour later, you feel so much shame because you're like, how could I have said all that? Blah, blah, blah. Those are young parts of ourselves that are protection mechanisms that just come over us, and they are oftentimes extreme, and sometimes, like you said, not that extreme, or sometimes like the workaholic part could be a praised part. People are like, oh, go honey, like
Totally.
you're rocking it, but that's actually overriding our inner well-being. So this is all really about getting to know all these different protection mechanisms.
Yes.
Let's call them protection mechanisms. Yeah. And not running around living from trigger to protection mechanism,
Yes.
trigger to protection mechanism. It's like, okay, let's when we get triggered, if we have enough space between that stimulus and that response, which is the acting out or the protection, then in that space, you can do the 4 steps, get a little bit more calm, maybe have a little bit more clarity, feel a little bit more connected, have a little bit of compassion towards yourself. And that little molecule of self can rewire your brain in that moment and redirect your path. That's what this whole thing is about. It's not about overnight success. It's about those molecule moments, because those are literal new neural pathways in your brain.
So many people, because we're not in our centered self and we aren't like in a trusting
Right.
place with ourselves, when we are confronted with like a news story or something in our personal lives or our work, it's like, at least for me, the reaction is like, I go call someone. I want validation about it, but I'm actually not co-regulating. I'm spinning myself out.
Okay.
And I know what the difference is.
Okay, good.
Sometimes if it's about like an addiction thing, then I need co-regulation, and I know how to like not trauma dump. So like I know how to get like, permission from the person. Like, do you have a moment to talk? Or like, do you have like I'm going through something, I need to talk about this. Versus times where I'm just like spinning myself up and like telling myself stories again and over again. It like doesn't even matter the other person on the line.
Yeah.
Like I'm just revving up my nervous system.
Yes.
And then I go find another thing. And so it's like, I even after all this work I've done, there are still days where I'm just going from like reaction to reaction to reaction to reaction. Like different parts of my personality are in the driver's seat, and it's not my centered self. And that's why this is so important, this work, because so many people are like that. Like
Everyone is like that.
Whether it's like your kids
Everyone.
or a coworker.
We're all like little kids. I have a 6-year-old. I witness him in and out of these different spells, and I'm like, that's no different than I am. And so what do we need? Dick Schwartz wrote a book, You Are the One You've Been Waiting For, right? We need to be our own internal parent, the parent that was not there for us, the parent that could not co-regulate. We become our own co-regulation.
Yes.
Because we can turn in and we can have that curiosity and that connection. There are listeners that are gonna be like, oh, that sounds nice. Like, oh, I don't really get that. Yeah, of course not. I mean, when I first started, I've been doing IFS for a decade. When I first started, I'd be like, I don't fucking know what part is inside of me.
Yeah, I have an irritated part.
Let me tell you something. I lived with dissociated trauma for 36 years. I remembered my childhood trauma in a dream when I was 36 years old. Okay. Talk about why we drank, right? Remember you were saying earlier, like we chase after the reason why. I didn't know why.
Yeah.
I was like, why am I a cocaine addict? Well, okay, a decade later, I find out in a dream. And so that's a protector, the dissociation, the complete block, the shutdown. We protect so much against those pains because it's too impermissible to feel those childhood wounds.
I loved what you said earlier about like how sometimes it's like how we relate to our parts and identifying with the parts is like what keeps us from manifesting. So let's say that you've done the work or you're doing the work. You're in your therapy or you're reading self-help. You're in your work. So let's say you're relating to the parts in a good way. We're vibrating high, but still some people can feel stuck, whether it's in your career, it's your relationship, it's your self-worth. How can manifestation help us get unstuck?
Well, I think that what the first step about manifesting, I believe, is to recognize what you don't want. Because when you know what you don't know, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And so looking at your life first and foremost and saying, what is the belief? What is the story? What is the experience I'm having that is the opposite of what I actually want? And that clarity gives you a point of attraction. It gives you say, okay, this thing that's not vibing in my life, this thing that is not vibrational, I actually want this instead. That's a real clear direction. And then knowing what you do want is about, first and foremost, being willing to do whatever it takes to heal. That's always there. Because I think a lot of people out there being like, like these TikTokers, like write it 1,000 times or like repeat it or put it on your Starbucks coffee or whatever the bullshit is out there. It's a lot of fake manifesting bullshit. This isn't bullshit. This is actually who we are. It's our inherent nature. But we have stuff that's in the way. Okay, so then affirming what you do want, but from a place of really feeling connected to it, right? So I didn't say, me writing down, I want to be on Jonathan's podcast. I felt connected to that. That felt good in my body. So affirming that, writing it down, only if it feels good. If you're putting something on the page or you're saying something out loud, but it doesn't vibrate, like it feels like, oh, no, like how could that happen for me? That's not the thing. Like, don't put that out there because there's a disconnect, right? Maybe that's not the thing yet, okay? But it feels like you can't be like, I'm broke and I'm a millionaire, but you could be like, I'm broke, but you know what? I've got a really good resume and I can freshen up my resume and I've got LinkedIn and LinkedIn's awesome. And I've seen people get really killer at LinkedIn, so I'm going to get really good at using LinkedIn. Like reaching for the thing that feels vibrationally aligned. That's what I call the choose again, right? So you witness the thought and then you choose the next best feeling thought. Okay, reaching for the thing that feels better to you. And then I really believe that we can do a lot to just align with the universe. That's why I have this manifesting challenge, which is this like perennial event that I do in January. Tens of thousands of people do it with me. And that's awesome. But this trust the universe challenge that I'm doing right now is even more profound, because when we feel connected to the universe, that's when we just think it and it is. It's like there's not a lot of efforting. There's just sort of like, let's just put it down there, Jonathan's podcast. And then it's in when you're in alignment spiritually, whatever that means for you, right? For me, it means feeling and knowing that there's an energy supporting me and around me. When I'm in that alignment, everything starts to fall into place.
What role does self-perception play in manifestation?
Well, like I said, we manifest what we believe, but we also manifest who we are. So if we perceive ourselves as inadequate, or if we perceive ourselves as broke, or perceive ourselves as not good enough or, bad in some way, then we're going to create more of that belief. And that's why I really believe that the real manifesting flex is the IFS. It's the inner work, because you got to heal the vibration inside. You got to heal the beliefs inside. Your energy is the point of attraction.
So really, it's like, if you don't believe that you deserve something, you really can't manifest it until you've done that work.
What you can manifest is this. Let's say you right now, you're a great example. You've got this shopper part and you're kind of like, ooh, the shopper part's kind of in the way and it's doing these things, but you have so much clarity about it. Okay, have you healed the shopper part? Is it gone? Is it like in perfect harmony inside of you yet? No, maybe it will be in
We
here.
have made a lot of progress.
But that's my point.
Yes.
That progress is the perfection.
I did just
right?
fuck up like 2 months ago.
But it's not about the fuck ups. It's about how quickly you come back.
So I did want to ask you, so it's like, what about setbacks? How can we be like kinder and like gentler with ourselves like when we do have a setback?
Begin again. Begin again. Every day you choose again.
And it's like kind of like, it's not like I have to start over. It's like I can begin again.
You know what? I had this sponsor for many years in 12-step, and what was the most magnificent about Gina, my sponsor, was that when I'd call her and I'd say like the most fucked up shit, I'd be like, I just cheated on this guy, or I did this awful thing, and she'd be like, okay, like forgive yourself. Let's give it to God. Let's pray for a higher power to support us. Let's. It's not letting yourself off the hook. It's letting yourself choose again. It's letting yourself give over the resentment and begin again.
What happens when we force something versus being in alignment with what we actually need? And let's say that you maybe did force something like a career decision, or like you just muscled your way into something, but now it's kind of like an insecure functioning relationship.
Yeah.
As Dick would say.
Yeah, totally.
Is it possible for us to have like started something off like from more of like a forcey, muscly place, but then like transform it into more of a, like an aligned space?
Absolutely. What a nice question. Okay, well, the first thing is that the forcing muscly place often won't actually get us very far because that energy is very thirsty. And, you know, when you're dating and like the guy's like, you know, texting 1,000 times, you're like, no, honey, like not into it. You want to be the person that's like, yeah, I'm cool. Let's hang out, right? So it's the thirsty kind of controlling energy that's very static and blocks the men. Yeah, off-putting. And in some cases, you can muscle your way into some successful moment, but it may not last, or you may not believe you're worthy of it, or whatever. But let's say that you, to answer your question, let's say you muscled your way into something, and now you want to transmute it. Yeah. Okay. Like I just said before, begin again. So show up for that new manifestation, however, whatever it is, if it's a work thing or if it's a relationship thing. And every moment is a new opportunity to alchemize the energy. So I've had years and years of behavioral patterns with the people and coworkers. And you know what? Now I've healed a lot and I'm doing it differently. And today is a new day. And I can speak for my parts rather than as my parts. Right. So you can show up and you can even speak for the part.
Irritated part got me in trouble.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah. Oh, I have this part of me that gets really irritated, or I have a part of me that's like just been forcing this thing. And you know, I don't really want to force this thing, but I really just want to enjoy it. The other secret to this is just to be like, okay, I was forcing joy. That's the thing.
I don't want to force it. I'm just going to enjoy this.
That's the whole thing. There it is. That's the cleanup. Okay. I was forcing this. I was doing this right away to alchemize the whole thing and make it new. Just go have fun. The secret to manifesting is to have fun. Just go and make it fun. Go find the joy in the situation. Be like, okay, this was once something that was burdening me. I'm going to go make it really, really fun.
So even if you were to say that like politically, like
okay,
I am so fucking pissed about like where would the joy and the fun be from like when you're organizing and meeting new friends who are like like-minded with you, and you're like getting off the doom scroll and you're going and meeting people in real life and getting in community that way?
Yes, I think there's like a real important message for activists, because I think that I think we need more spiritual activism right now, because I think a lot of activists are really fighting the fight. But it's not that we don't stop fighting. It's that we start aligning. And that fighting energy is often a protector energy. But we need self-led leaders, as Dick would say. We need self-led leaders. So people who are leading from courage, leading from connection, leading with clarity, leading with compassion, right? Like, God, these people that are doing these horrific things.
There's not one of the good C words of IFS that I can associate with Trump. He is really clear on his.
He's super clear
on his racism.
He's super
clear. He is really clear on his racism. I will say
I
this.
don't think that there's a lot. There is no self energy there. That is absolutely accurate, and that is exactly a very good example of lots of parts of someone, like trauma parts from their childhood, becoming so extreme that narcissistic part turned into the president
of the United fucking States.
And what did he do? He resonated so deeply with so many other people's
unhealed trauma parts. So we got to be like kinder even we got to be like more compassionate, clear, courageous.
The people who need the compassion the most are the ones that actually thought that was the good idea.
We've talked about a lot. I want to like really dig in and make sure that people have some solutions. They are walking away from this episode with some tangible new routines, some tangible new tools to like start to work into their lives. So how can we actually rewire our brain to think differently and open up to better possibilities?
Okay, so I love that choose again method that I opened up to a little bit earlier. You notice the fear-based thought that you have on repeat, and then you forgive yourself for having that thought. You're like, oh, there's that thought I keep having. Forgive yourself. And the next step is to reach for the next best feeling thought. So, okay, I went shopping. Oh no, I went shopping. Forgive yourself for the thought, like I went shopping, I did the thing, and then reach for the next best feeling thought. I can return that thing I just bought. I can actually sell the 5 bags that I'm not really that into. And then maybe I'll make some money on that and then use that for my next purchase.
Did I tell you that I did that?
That was what my idea was for you. Remember I told you? I
literally just did that.
That was my idea for you.
But for someone else, like, and also
anybody, anyway. So that's my example, right? You're reaching for the next best. You're not like, I'm broke. Okay, I'm a millionaire. I'm broke, but like we said earlier, but I've got some connections. I've got a good resume. I can get on. Reaching for that next best feeling thought.
Basically, when we're rewiring our brain, we're literally just like being like, okay, I see you thought. And then we're reaching for one that is more healing, more kind, more gentle.
One that we believe in, because you don't want to reach for a belief that's too far reaching because it's going to keep you stuck in fear. Like you're going to know inside that's not real. So you want to notice the thought, forgive the thought, and reach for the thought that you believe in.
What's the role of our like daily habits in reshaping our thoughts?
It's just the repetition of new behavior. Lots of little right actions. One small new thought, one small new action, one small new behavior, you add it up and that becomes a new way of being. It's small steps.
I love small steps and they do add up. And it's not the big magic light bulb, honey. Sometimes just like a lot of little things make big new things.
Lots of little things make big new things.
What are the small shifts people can start with today?
Okay. Shift number 1, notice the thought that you have on repeat that is holding you back. Just notice it, write it down, and just say to that thought, I forgive you and I love you. Step 1.
So if you were doing that politically, it'd be like, these Republicans are tearing our Constitution apart and everyone is worse off for it. It'd be like, honey, I understand why you feel like that.
Yeah.
You have a lot of evidence that that is the case, but I do believe that people have the resilience, wisdom, and strength to navigate this dark era, and we're going to come out stronger and more together for it.
Well, I would give that as actually another tip is look for the light in all situations. Lean towards the positive. See the obstacles as opportunities. Look at them as detours in the right direction. Living with more of an optimistic mindset opens your heart to what's possible.
Come on, Gretchen Rubin, optimism mindset. That's so true. That is so true.
Optimism.
Because that doesn't mean that we're being delusional or
it's
like.
It's not delusional. It's just saying, what can I learn from this? How can I rise up from this? What is my direction here? Or if you don't know the answer, if you have a spiritual practice or if you have a prayer practice, ask for guidance. Okay, universe, God, grandma, show me where to go. Show me what to do. Show me how to see this through the lens of love.
For those out there, if you have someone in your life who is skeptical or thinks that manifestation is all like woo and not based in reality, what's one thing you really want them to understand?
Well, everything I teach is completely non-denominational. I've been writing spiritual self-help books. I'm a Jewish woman. I've been talking about all kinds of spiritual principles, but it's completely disconnected from my religion, from any kind of religion. And I welcome all religions. Everyone enters their spiritual faith from their own entry point.
I have a Unitarian Universalist mindset.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so when all it is I believe manifesting spirituality is about returning to who we really are. It's wanting to live in joy. It's wanting to feel aligned with a higher purpose, a higher connection. And it's also quantum physics, right? What we put out, we receive back. Energy is everything. We're all energetic frequencies. So if we start to recognize that we can adjust our energy through more optimism and hope and gratitude and appreciation, and more of that will come to us. Okay, come on. Who doesn't want that?
Self-help, it's out now. You should get it. We love Gabby's new book. Self-help, this is your chance to change your life. So this work is so important. And this is no spoiler alert, but what's one misconception about ourselves that we need to release in order to manifest more powerfully?
That we can't manifest. I think that the biggest misconception is that we are not super attractors, that we don't have the power to attract what we want, that somebody else has it up, but I don't. It's a big lie. It's who we are.
Gabby Bernstein, thank you so much for coming on Getting Better. We love you so much.
Thank you for being my first manifestation in this new wave of being new Gabby.
New Gabby is here. She's better than ever.
New Gabby is better than ever.
I love you guys so much. And Gabby, thank you so much for coming on.
I love you.
Love you too.